So if you could be here around 9, that would be great. Okay?
Well, listen here.
Hello, and welcome to 90 Day Fiancé MK Classic Edition. I'm Mr. O, and today, Ms. H and I will be discussing Season 1, Episodes 5 and 6 of Before the 90 Days. In this episode, Jesse tests out the stepfather waters, Abby sees a voodoo healer, we meet Miriam but get teased about a secret, Courtney has nothing much to do but sit around and wait for Antonio, Paul's testing plan gets prematurely exposed, and we meet Larry, whose I love yous started really very early. If you like what you hear, please support us by subscribing and leaving a 5-star rating. While we cover these classic episodes, we'll also be covering the current season every Monday. Next week, we'll be covering episodes 7 and 8 of Season 1 of Before the 90 Days, which you can watch on Hulu or Discovery+. All right, thanks for listening, stay safe, and enjoy.
Hello, Mr. O.
Hello, Miss H.
How are things in the classic world with you?
Things are very classic. Like I'm feeling, I don't know. We got more coming along. We're still learning more things about the people. They're kind of fitting into the boxes. They're moving towards the boxes. I've had them, but I'm more excited about the ones that I don't know. Right? Because I feel like you watch some of the ones, the old ones is like Darcey was always Darcey. Look at that. Amazing.
Yeah, and then it kind of feels like spoiler alert too, right?
Yes, like I know where this is going. I already know where this one's going. Like for sure know where it's going. Not just like, I think I see where this train's headed, but like, no, I literally already know what's going on here. Yes.
Oh, well, speaking of spoiler alerts, I guess let's start off with Jesse and Darcey. So Jesse and Darcey are working out. It's been a couple of weeks since Darcey's been there, and Darcey says she's getting used to the whole routine. They're going to meet up with Jesse's friend, Erdem, and Jesse likes that Erdem says what's on his heart. Erdem likes Darcey and thinks she's nice, but he has concerns over the age difference, which, by the way, is 18 years. He asks Darcey what she thought when she met Jesse, and Darcey says she knew when she saw him that he was the love of her life. Erdem questions this and asks her what will happen when they're married and she's 80. Darcey stammers and says that she's youthful at heart and age is just a number. Jesse says that they just embrace the feedback at this stage. Erdem wonders what will happen if Darcey's heart was wrong and wonders what her daughters think of Jesse, who basically could be their brother. Darcey thinks that Jesse is mature for his age. Jesse commends Erdem for his hard-hitting questions, especially because it makes Jesse question if he's really ready to be a stepfather. Jesse dresses up in a suit so they can video chat Darcey's daughters, Aniko and Aspen. Aniko is the only one who is on the video chat because Aspen is out of sleepover. Aniko asks Jesse what was the first thing she noticed about Darcey, and Jesse says her eyes, but Aniko is surprised it's not her height. The chat was somewhat uneventful. Darcey asks if Jesse thought Aniko was cute and asks how he feels about being a stepfather. Jesse wants to make sure that, this is the right choice. He says that it could take years. And then, you're still not sure if it's the right decision. Darcey hints again at a proposal. Jesse then spouts off some cliches about, it being about the journey. And Darcey gets upset in the interview because she's realizing that a proposal may not happen on this trip. Okay, so Jesse definitely seems like he's getting a little bit more scared of the commitment. Do you think it's because he's realizing? Yeah. Do you think it's because he's realizing that this is a package deal and he's going to be a stepfather?
I don't know. I think that's an easy out. I don't think that he realized like how invested Darcey was. Like how much she wanted this, she expected this, she wanted and expected this to really happen. Like, I think he was kind of like, oh, I thought like we said, perhaps it'll be a proposal because that's what the producers asked us to say. You seem to be really wanting this. Like, this is not something I was ready for here. I mean, the stepfather thing is like, I don't know. I mean, I guess if they're going to get married that quickly, but they're already teenagers, right? Yes. And like, I feel like it would, I feel like they're already past the age where you'll be like, where it stops being like, I'm going to be a huge father figure for you versus I'm going to be like, I'm the person that your mom is married to.
Right. I think so too, because first of all, it seems like I think that they actually live more full time with their dad anyway.
I get that impression as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not like they really need a father figure necessarily.
Totally.
And if it was, I don't know if Jesse would be the best one, because they're right. He's much closer in age to the daughters than he is to Darcey. I wouldn't necessarily say he's a brother type, but he's the kind of guy who's getting drunk with you on your 21st birthday. Taking you to the strip clubs at your 18th birthday.
He's young uncle. Like,
yeah, yes, young uncle. Yes, right.
I could see that. I mean, I don't know that I'd see him. I see him trying to get them into the gym more than I see him trying to get them into a bar. But
that's true. That's true. Also, especially because we find out not too much later that he's really not into drinking anyway. So
yeah, he's kind of a teetotaler. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is not surprising in the least, actually.
Right. That fits in with his whole fitness theme.
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of calories in alcohol, unfortunately.
I should know. I just had spring break. Gained 5 pounds. Pretty sure that's all alcohol weight.
Yeah, all alcohol weight, especially like beer too. And you don't drink beer, but like that's the worst.
Oh yeah, I try to keep it skinny with vodka waters, but you know that's only interesting for so long. Yeah, but I was gonna say that. We were kind of debating before this, so I apologize to anyone who was really annoyed with how I was pronouncing Darcey's daughter's name. We could not decide if it was Aniko or Aniko, because I swear during any other season it was Aniko. But she said it differently this episode, and I was very confused, so I just went with it.
I know. It was weird. I mean, I couldn't. It was between that and then I thought it was a really weird like place to Skype, like from public.
Oh, and Jesse was dressed like such a douche.
Oh yeah. You've never seen him in a suit, and he's a 3-piece thing. And it was funny because she was like, "How's Amsterdam?" He's like, "We have canals and windmills." It's like there were no windmills. Canals, yes, you could be like, "Oh, it's Amsterdam. We got the canal."
But he pronounces it interesting too. He says canals. He says we have canals and we have windmill. It's like, all right.
Yeah, like,
I think she knew that anyway.
Right. It's like the like 3 things anybody knew about like the Netherlands before. It's like he just left out tulips, and we would have been on the thing. Like,
yeah. So, like I said, the chat was kind of uneventful. There really wasn't a whole lot. Yeah, it was pretty
uneventful. Mm-hmm. The other chat I couldn't get was Hardam, right? Mm-hmm. Because he was very concerned about the age. And yes. I thought Darcey had a pretty obvious answer. He was like, "What's going to happen when you're 80?" And I was going to be like, "Jesse's going to be 62?" Like,
yeah,
you think
right?
Jesse is going to stay 24 like the whole time?
You're like, the man ages, I promise.
Yeah, like, what about when you're older? And it's like, Jesse will also be older. That's how time works.
Yeah. And I feel like it'd be less obvious. You know, when people get older, I feel like the difference in age is less of a thing. So,
right. That's why the half your age plus 7 rule exists. Right. It scales as you get older. It's a smaller. Right. It's a bigger difference as you get older.
Yeah.
Between it being as awkward.
But I thought he brought up some good concerns.
Yeah, he wasn't wrong that the age is a thing. It's just it's not like, what about when they're older? And it's like,
right. Yeah. But there were a lot of cliches said between the two of them in this entire episode.
Of course she was going to say age is nothing but a number, but
right.
Yes, but all those
I'm young at heart, you know.
Oh yes, I have a young spirit.
I have an old spirit. He's mature for his age. It's like, how many cliches could you possibly say in one episode?
Yes, everything everybody always says with those. Like, I mean, it does help that he's not like that. He isn't like a partier, right? That definitely does help it a lot. But you know, things how it goes on. All right, let's go. Let's just hit the other retread. You know, it wasn't a retread at the time, but retread to us and of Paul and Karine.
Oh gosh.
So, Paul and Courtney are in the hotel from last episode in the morning, trying to decide, through a translator app, of course, what they're going to do today on Paul's first full day with her. Karine's suggestion is to swim in the river, which give Paul anxiety about the urethra fish and the piranha. Karine already thinks he's being too cautious, but isn't sure if that's a Paul thing or an American thing.
Oh, please don't.
Of course, as we're hearing this, it's a Paul thing. As we're hearing this, Paul appears to be wearing a Kevlar vest, so I think that should give her a hint of where that points her. So anyway, Paul reminds us that he thinks Karine is really hot, but he doesn't want to sleep with her until she's had an STD and pregnancy test. He's clever enough to know that he should butter her up a little bit before dropping this bomb. So they go down to the river, and Paul is really not feeling good about the murky, untreated water. That the doc warned him about swimming in untreated water, but, he really wants to impress Karine.
God.
So while she jumps into the river, he goes to put on his penis sheath and life jacket. Giant life jacket. Karine is embarrassed by the sight of him, and he makes it into the water for like a whole 5 seconds before his pants become waterlogged and he has to get out. So after the swim, they tell us that, they're going to be spending the rest of the trip in Manaus. So before they go there, he wants to have a conversation with Karine's father. So now that Paul thinks he's earned Karine's respect with that river swim, things are going a lot more smoothly. He joins in with a local tribal dance. He gets his face painted, and Karine even says that he seems to be a lot looser and having a lot more fun. He's not yet sure if he wants to propose on this trip or not, but since it is the last time in the village, there'll be no other opportunity to ask her father for her hand. So he manages to speak enough Spanish to get Karine and her dad to understand that he wants to ask a question. Then he's completely out of language skills. He tries to use the app to get his Portuguese, but even reading off the app, the father is like, I don't understand what you're saying at all. He says, I understand very little of that. So Paul resorts to his awkward charades. He gets down on one knee to try to mimic a proposal, but that doesn't work. Then he mimics putting a ring on a finger, but that looks like something else completely.
God.
And eventually they get some reading glasses for the dad, and he just reads what he was trying to say off the phone. They bring in the mother now, and she reads it off the phone as well, and then types her response really slowly, which is that they give their blessing. They seem impressed that he was actually there for marriage and not just for fun, and they want Karine to be happy. Things are much more tense, though, at breakfast the next morning because they had their first fight that night when Karine found the pregnancy test Paul brought on the trip. So then they kind of rehash and talk about it again at breakfast. It upsets her that Paul doesn't trust her, and she asks do you suspect that I'm pregnant? Paul blames his behavior on past relationships and says he's been burned so many times, including a past instance where a girlfriend was pregnant with somebody else's baby. Anyway, that seems to be the relationship that also got him into the trouble that he's not talking about yet. So now the cat is out of the bag, and he directly asks Karine to take an STD test. She isn't happy that she's being held to the standards of his old girlfriends, but agrees to take the test because she has nothing to hide. Paul is still worried, because he intends to break this whole thing off if any of the results from the STD test are positive. So I'm a little confused about I want more specifics about what all the things he's testing for are, because something's got to be positive. I was definitely thinking it's like, I don't know if they do HPV, but that's going to be positive because literally like everybody over the age of 25 has it. But
well, Karine isn't over the age of 25. She's still kind of young.
That's
She's
true.
Like 21,
but like that's the thing.
think, right?
But when they came out with the Gardasil, they were like, yeah, we're not giving it to anybody in their 20s. Like it's too late. But like, I guess I'm like, okay, let's talk about do you want to talk about his stupid life jacket?
Okay, so let's kind of go back to that because I love how he says, oh, I'm doing this to impress Karine. You are not impressing anyone with whatever's going on over here.
Clearly not. She was a lot of things. Impressed was not one of them.
How are you impressing Karine with this getup? It was so absurd. I thought he was going to drown with those pants on. It was kind of like, yeah, that would be interesting. You're like doing all these things to protect yourself from one thing, and now you're just going to drown because you're so ridiculous.
Yes. I mean, it just seems to me like that life jacket did not fit properly. at all.
No.
Even close. Like, you could definitely drown while wearing that life jacket.
Oh, sure. His head could still go under for sure.
It came off his shoulders, and like his head could still go under. Like, it was ridiculously big. And I don't know, like, why, of all the things to cheap out on, like, whatever, I'll just grab a life jacket and not a appropriate life jacket that fits. And like, who goes swimming with a life jacket on? Oh my God.
It's user error for sure. I feel like you could have tightened up those buckles and at least made it somewhat snugger than it was. I mean, if it's too big, it's too big, but that whole situation was so much worse than it had to be.
Yes. And it was just, he couldn't move. Like, and so he weirdly, like, awkwardly fell into the water after she had just, like, you know, calmly dove in, like, and went for a swim. She was wearing, like, literally a bikini. Like, it was crazy.
Well, he was all freaked out because this is the first time we hear him say poop water. He actually referred to the water as poop water. He's like, oh, that poop water.
It's brown, but it's not because of poop. It's like silt.
Dirt.
It's, yeah. Like, and it is not the most pleasant swimming experience to go swimming when you can't, like, see below the surface of the water.
Oh, sure,
like,
sure.
I'm not a fan of doing that myself because I like to see, like, if something is touching my leg, what is touching my leg? Like, maybe most of the time it's a plant or something, but it's like, so I'm not a huge fan of doing it anyway, but like, if you'd have just said like, no, I'm not comfortable with it, or just did it, like either one of those would have been a better choice than whatever it was that he did.
I honestly don't understand Karine at all. At what point in this relationship has she been like, yes, this is the guy. This guy is the most attractive person to me. I can't recall at any point in any of the seasons that we've seen that she has really seemed to love this guy. I mean, even what she says in this episode, like, I'm embarrassed by him. I feel like that's the general consensus that we get from her, you know, is that she's generally embarrassed by this guy. She thinks he's ridiculous. Like, she thinks he's stupid. She hates him.
And so, and it's a good question. What is it that is endearing? Because it's not like, she doesn't seem like, oh, he's goofy and that's endearing to me. She was like, I'm embarrassed to be seen by you. Take that off. Take it off.
Yes.
What are you doing? Just no.
Like his cooling vest, that was also ridiculous. You're just going to walk around. God. And forget about walking around. He was wearing it when they were in their room. And I'm going to say that their room probably isn't as hot as it is outside. What is he doing wearing this cooling vest?
I mean, it's definitely not, you're not going to be in the direct sunlight. And you can probably have a fan on in your room like that. So you can be cooler. Yeah, cooler than the outside. Definitely cooler than in the sunlight. But yeah, I don't know what this whole vest is. It's just, and like, do you really, I mean, he lives in Louisville, right? Like, I know it gets
Lexington,
hotter
Kentucky
there, but it still gets ridiculously hot and humid in like parts of the US that you've been to. Like, that they aren't like that much different. They'd be like, oh, I have to wear my cooling vest when I go to Florida. Like, oh, come with me. Like,
I wonder if he would. I think he would rely, honestly, Paul's mentality is like, well, the U.S., every place has AC, like, so I wouldn't have to worry about that. I could always find some air
conditioning. Sure. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the blessing.
Okay.
His stupid, wrong finger, dude. Like, what was all of that?
He definitely did the make a hole with your one hand and like put your finger through
index finger.
Like, but he used his index finger from like his right hand. It was like
that makes no damn sense.
Yeah, and it looked like to me it looked like when he was getting down and trying to do on one knee, like with the proposal with the ring, looked like he was like holding a communion wafer or something. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, that also didn't make any sense.
And because he also didn't commit to it, he kind of like bent down his knee and threw his arm up and not like didn't like actually get all the way down on one knee.
Karine. It's like,
what are you even doing? And it was funny because I thought the funniest part was that Dad kept looking at the producers and like, can you help me out here? What is this dude doing? Like I know one of y'all speaks Portuguese.
Yeah, I saw him motioning for his glasses. I love it. It was like the communal glasses he gave it. It was so funny when he read it. He was like, Graceline, like, get over here. Even though the mom, Graceline, she seemed to have given her blessing, Jose did not look happy at all. He's like, oh, no. Really? We're going along with this.
Yeah, I mean, hers was just like, I thought he was just coming down here for a bang trip. He wants to marry her? Amazing.
Okay.
Like,
everybody's wish is to ask to give away their daughter for marriage. It's like, is it?
Right.
To this guy?
To that guy? Oh, man.
Maybe you should raise your standards. # goals. Not Paul.
I gotta believe that what percentage of people, if you gave them a paragraph to read in a different language, could at least pull it off to be like understood by
absolutely.
the native speaker? Like 90% of people got to be able to pull that off, right?
Oh
that's just literacy. Like, because I mean, you could do it, and I can imagine you could even probably, if you wanted to and you tried hard enough, get something that would translate it into like phonetic pronunciation of everything.
Sure. I also think that he was doing it on purpose. Like, unless you were doing it on purpose, it can't sound that far off. It was
right.
Like, people who are, being gringo on purpose, like, yo estoy habla
Donde
español.
Yeah. Como te llama.
Yeah. Ama. It's like, oh my gosh. It's like you're doing this on purpose, aren't you?
That was definitely quesadilla level Portuguese he was doing, yes.
Goodness. All right. Let's move on to Patrick and Miriam. So Patrick is packing up for his trip to France. He's getting his hair done in his mom's living room. Letty, Patrick's mom, is concerned that Patrick is trying to date someone so far away, especially since Patrick has a daughter here. Patrick thinks that the fact that Miriam is Muslim is more of a possible issue. Letty's concerned that their upbringing is so much different over there. Patrick then voices some random concerns, like maybe she's a lesbian, or married, or used to be a man. But Patrick thinks the biggest upset would be that it just doesn't work out the way he envisions it. Patrick is willing to do whatever it takes to make her his. We then meet Miriam, who is 22 years old and lives in Paris. She thinks that Patrick is a good-looking guy, and he followed her on social media one day. He told her at some point that she was the perfect woman, and Miriam thought he was just a player. She didn't take him too seriously. But then a year ago, Patrick told her he was going to visit her. But once again, she didn't take him too seriously until he said he bought a ticket. Miriam is waiting at the airport, and she's a little stressed and a little excited. They see each other, and they both kind of laugh when they meet each other at the baggage claim. They la bise, which is do this kiss. Yes. Patrick says he felt a spark as soon as he saw her. He's so excited and can't stop hugging her. Miriam says she's stressed because she teases a secret. Okay, so Patrick vents, or I guess expresses concern that he's worried Miriam is married. Why do you think that is a concern of his? Shouldn't he know her enough to know if she's married? Or a lesbian, or a former man, or whatever.
I didn't appreciate the random unexpected transphobia that just came out of nowhere. What if she's a man? Like, oh, man, I didn't. So I'm skipping past that part. Like, there's other major things that you would think, like, all those concerns are basically boiling down to, I'm afraid she's a catfish, right? Or like some sort of scammer, I should say, more than a catfish, because we've already passed the point where we know she looks like what she looks like. But is it all a scam? Is basically what the other ones come down to.
Sure. But I think that, when we talk about scams, it's not necessarily legitimate concern unless they're actually getting money from the person. And I don't think Patrick's sending money.
Right. That's a good point. It's like definitely when you're like, I think this might be a scam. And it's like, well, what would her end game for this scam be? What's the point? What's she getting out of it?
Just to mess with someone, to troll someone, to get money. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's definitely people who think that people are out there to do it. Like they just, they left me high and dry for no reason at all. I was like, did they get money out of it? Because I feel like if they got money out of it, we can explain it. But yes, I don't get what would her goal be of, yes, I'm a random lesbian who's going to bring this American man to France in order to, and then fill in the blank, Patrick. What's she going to do?
Right.
What's the point after that?
Just be like, goal accomplished. All right, moving on to the next. Let's start this 2-year operation over again, starting
just
from
to get somebody
the beginning.
to fly to Paris and then say, ha, sucker, and then move on to the next guy.
Yeah, right. So yeah, I don't really know what he was expecting.
I mean, there's definitely concerns to be had, but the concern that she's not actually interested in a relationship with him for whatever reason doesn't seem it. Now, the fact that you might not be as serious about this relationship, that's a concern, right? That she's not ready for the kind of commitment that he's looking for, also a concern. But right.
Well, that's what makes me think that they don't talk as closely or as intimately as you would think someone, in this position would. You would think they would at least know each other really, really well. Know each other enough to know if she was married or that she was, had different sexual preferences. I think you would know that. So the fact that these are concerns makes me feel like,
know that as if you're afraid she's been lying to me this whole time.
Right. That I can understand, but it does make me feel like he maybe doesn't know her as well as he could.
As he thinks he does, depending on what this stupid secret is. I do not have my hopes up for that. But okay, so did he button up his shirt on the plane or not? I can't figure out what he was doing on the plane because he got out at the airport and his shirt was completely unbuttoned, top to bottom, full chest out as he walked into the airport. I was
he's playing up his assets. Yeah, those are rip-off buttons. Those are happening right as soon as he sees Miriam. He just rips it off.
Hulk gets the Hulkamania shirt, rip-off shirt.
Yeah. That's why they have snap buttons,
Oh my God, I haven't had snaps since I was 8 years old.
Yeah,
anyway.
but they're just so you can rip it right off. Life lesson right there. Easy access snap buttons.
That's assuming people want to see my chest, and that is a much, much shorter list than Patrick's chest, I'm sure.
Oh, goodness.
Anyway, so we meet, let's go to new guy, Larry. So we meet Larry, who is 37 from Pinellas Park, Florida, and he's on his way to his job to be a manager at McDonald's. He says he has 2 sons, Lawrence, who is 18, and Lucian, who is 14. Larry loves his sons, but, he's been less lucky in love. He says his 2 sons were from different mothers, neither of whom were ready to commit, and so he's been twice heartbroken. Now, he's looking for something real and forever, which he believes he found with Jenny, a 24-year-old that he met on Filipino Cupid 2 months ago. He tells us he's interested in Filipinas because they are beautiful, kind, and honest. He thinks that Jenny might be his future wife, so he's on his way to the Philippines to meet her. He's packing for the trip, which involves packing a lot of candy, a kiddie pool, and an air mattress, and of course an engagement ring. His sons don't know about Jenny yet, and their support is important to him going forward. So they get together and have dinner, and he tells them about her, including, that he's going to the Philippines to meet her, and his intention is to propose at the end of the trip. The boys, particularly Lucian, are taken off guard that they're just now hearing about Jenny. Lawrence thinks that Larry isn't thinking with his head, and Lucian wonders if she's just in it for the green card. At the end of the conversation, they both say that you've got to do what makes you happy. They seem skeptical, but, they also think that this might be his last chance at love.
Oh, gosh, that's so sad.
Because he'll never love again. He'll never love again. Anyway, the next morning, he tells us a little bit more about his experience with online dating. After making his profile on Filipino Cupid, he immediately had 217 messages, one of which was Jenny. He liked that she looked normal and brings up her profile on the app to show the producers, where he sees that she was active a week ago. So he calls her and wakes her up with a phone call. She says that she accidentally opened the app and logged in, and he says, okay, but I'm not sure if he really bought it. She texts to say she's sorry, and she actually isn't using her account. In the next episode, he's meeting with his first cousin Buster and Annalyn, who met under similar circumstances. It was actually Buster that told him about the app in the first place, and so he wants to talk things over with him. Buster says that Larry is moving kind of fast, since in Buster's case, it was 6 months before he went to the Philippines, and also because this girl, Jenny, seems to have started with the I love yous on like day 1. Actually, no, day 2. So Annalyn thinks that this girl is telling him exactly what he wants to hear. But Larry tells him that he's ready to ask Jenny to marry him. Both of them think that he's moving way too fast. Annalyn brings up that she's been, scoping out Jenny's Facebook, and she is flirtatiously talking to literally hundreds of men of all ages around the world. He mentions how, and then he talks to them about how, her Filipino Cupid account was active a week ago. And they've heard enough. They both decide that she is just manipulating him. But Larry brings up sunk costs. He already cashed in his 401k for this, so, he's pretty stuck now. So anyway, he's packing up again, and Larry says that he's bringing tea because Jenny has never had tea before. Which neither I nor the producer actually seem to believe. Eventually, everything is packed into 2 suitcases and a trash bag. So he says bye to his dog, Baby Rose, and is on the road. On the drive to the airport, he tries to give her a call, but she doesn't pick up. But she does text back saying that she'll message later, which doesn't make him feel confident about this not being a scam. All right. So what is the first clue he should have gotten that this was probably a scam?
I guess the love you, but I mean, I feel like people who are desperate to hear that are definitely not going to take that as like it's a scam, right? Because they want that. So yeah, I don't know.
I mean, because so to me, then the first thing would have been I would have been very, very put off by I signed up for this app, and the next day I had 217 matches and people talking to me. I'd be like, those are all bots. This is a scam. I'm deleting this app.
Right. Yeah, it's hard to say because I think a lot of the couples on this series, like this whole franchise that have met Filipinos, I'm pretty sure they've all been Filipino Cupid.
I feel like we had, well, no, because we know from the new season, not Tariq, right? Because didn't he meet her while he was traveling?
No, I'm pretty sure. Some international dating site, it might not have been Filipino Cupid because I don't know if he was specifically looking for Filipinos so much as just Asian women in general.
Yes. It depends on how specific your problematic tastes are. Right.
And I was going to say that a lot of these men that have come on they're like Filipina women. They're the ones that I really need to date because they're the only ones in the world that are beautiful, kind, and honest. It's like, all right.
Right.
Okay.
And none of them are not. I mean, all Filipino women, just beautiful, kind, honest, committed to family. All of them. Literally all of them. Not a bad one of the bunch.
Right. So that's why I'm always like very skeptical. I don't know. It seems like there's more going on there than they really care to admit.
I feel like this is the first time they've really specifically talked about that app. A lot of times they're just like, oh, we met on an app for international dating, but like you couldn't avoid because he's so pressed about it, because that became, an issue with the thing, is to have to be like, nope, it was Filipino date. Like, we're going to name the app now.
Yeah. I don't know if he would be able to really identify if this was a scam or not, because the mental gymnastics he had to go through to really say, oh, maybe the site wasn't correct and that wasn't the last time she logged in. I was like, wow.
Nope.
You are willing to believe anything. You think the website was broken? Come on.
What's
wrong with you?
Specifically to say she logged in when she didn't. And it's like, okay, but my thing is also, okay, so who are you to talk? Because when your account was last active? 2 minutes ago when you checked on everything. Like.
But at the same time, that I think we could say specifically it was because production was asking him. But my thing was, okay, how can you accidentally log in if you don't have an account at all?
Yes. If you deleted the app. Right. If you deleted the app, this wouldn't be an issue. But then again, we wouldn't be able to see her pictures on this, so I don't know. Yeah. Right, because we gotta have the app pictures. We can't, because did she send him any pictures yet? I don't even know that. Like, we haven't been it kind of heard about, because is a huge variance this season about how much these people have talked to each other beforehand.
Yes, definitely. So it sounds like they were only 2 months.
Yes, but we don't. So 2 months. But like, you know, we had other ones that like they were talking to each other, but never actually spoke or saw each other's faces. Right.
Sure.
So
sure.
we don't know if this has he at least cleared the I know it's not a catfish bar? Like, does he even know that those are her actual pictures? Like, has he seen her in like the video chat or anything?
The video chat, because when he called her, it was video chatting, but I think she was in bed or something like that. So that's why it was all black.
Well, I mean, she was clearly in bed. He clearly woke her up in the middle of the night, but she's like,
right.
What? And he's like, and could you? Oh my god! And that's part of me is, you know, really that doesn't help the not a scam, like any evidence when you like wake it up and she's just like, oh no, I'm sorry, baby, it was all my fault, and wasn't like, why are you waking me up in the middle of the night to ask me about if I'm dating somebody? Like, that to me would have been the more honest reaction.
Well, she didn't even give a real answer to it. Like, I was paying attention to it. I was like, so what exactly? You know, and just even what she said was very roundabout. And she's like, my phone. You'll understand when you get here. It's like, that's not a reason.
I'll show you when you get here. Yes, that's true.
So I wasn't really on board with her answer. But at the same time, I'll give it to her that she was, you know, fast asleep. So when he was also packing up all that stuff, why was he packing up Ricola?
Is that what it was? There was
I
couldn't tell with all the candy.
Yeah, there was a bunch of candy and then a bag of Ricola, and I was just like, why?
I mean, that's not even like a good cough drop. Like, I don't. But it's just cough drops, right?
Oh, you know what the best cough drop is, and it's hard for me to find now. I got it by accident one time. Is Hall's Breezers, I think it's tropical something or other. It tastes like candy. I could eat 100 of those things. I don't. Yeah. So when I get the cough drops, I don't like the ones that are overly heavily medicated because it makes my tongue numb, and I don't like that. I just get the stupid like Ludens, like lightly with the cherry, basically cherry hard candy. That's what I go for. Oh, this was like hard candy. It was like tropical hard candy. It was so good.
As long as it doesn't make my tongue numb, I'm okay.
No,
it's with the ones
it was
that
pretty light.
Yeah.
Okay, you kind of didn't talk about this part, which I was like, He says that he's cashing out his 401k for this trip.
For the trip, just for the trip. Like,
what the fuck is wrong with you?
How old is this dude? 37.
Yeah, what are you doing?
Part of the issue is I feel like when you're 37, you ought to have more in your 401k than just enough to pay for one trip to the Philippines.
Well, I don't think he's cashing out the entire thing. Well, can you?
Okay.
I don't know. I don't have a 401k, so I have no idea how it works. Can you take out a little bit?
I think you can.
Okay.
But when you take it out,
it makes
you got to
feel
pay
a
taxes
little
on
better.
it. But when you take it out, you have to pay taxes on it.
Well, that's just a bad idea in general.
Yeah, terrible idea. It's a terrible idea. Just terrible.
Gosh.
Like, it's definitely a thing because it's been 2 months, right?
Yeah.
And I'm with Buddy Buster. If it's been 2 months, you decide we want to have her. All right, so save up for the next 4 months.
Right.
You probably save up enough for the trip. Why do you have to go right now?
Yeah, maybe he's just fearful that, you know, she's going to find some other dude.
She's going to move on because, you know, you got 207. It's just the 217 messages in like overnight. Like when you first sign up, it's just like, oh no, this.
So to me, how I would read that if I was Larry is like, oh, not necessarily that I'm a hot commodity, but maybe I am just given who else is on this site if I'm getting to it. So I probably would relax. Like, do you think that Jenny is getting scooped up by the next guy if it takes me another couple months to save up?
Yeah,
I think we're okay.
Yeah, if I'm clearly in the 99th percentile of dudes on this site, then yeah, like why would I worry about her getting to somebody else? I can see that. I can see that. It just, to me, it's just like, that's just, to me, it would just scream of whatever, bots, you know, things like that. But I would definitely also think none of these people are interested in me. They're interested in getting to America. Like, that would be my immediate thought. Like, I was like, because they don't know. Nobody knows me. I don't know. It depends on what the messages are too. I've had a little bit of experience with people on dating apps that are like,
with bots.
Oh, hi. No, bots. No, but I've had one that was like from, I think it was Thailand.
Oh, I remember this. I was encouraging Mr. O so hardcore to,
because I ended up eventually just asking her, are you trying to get to the U.S.? She was like, yes, I am. And I was like,
Because I was like, you could be on 90 Day Fiance. Do it.
I don't even know how I met because it wasn't an international site. It was an American site. Why does this say they're 14,000
Well, because they
away?
have that travel thing on it now. So you can say you're anywhere. So that way they can match with people.
Yeah. Which is, I think, what happened. But I'm like, I don't know. I have no faith in this at
my
all.
thing is why would she decide like, I want to live in the Maryland area? That seems like #1 U.S.
So, okay, so I'm not surprised for Maryland specifically because we tend to have a lot of, this area has a lot of international communities. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely a place, not the only place, certainly, but it's definitely a place like that you can go and you're like, oh, there's going to be other Filipinos there. Or there's going to be other Thai people there. There's going to be other whatever you are there. Like yeah, I know you're in Southern California and there's more of all of those people there. But like in terms of like, well, okay, where am I going to look? Well, I'll look in Southern California. I'll look around New York City, and then you usually look around Washington, D.C. because those are places that have big international communities.
All right. Okay, so let's move on to Courtney and Antonio. So Courtney is on her flight to Malaga, Spain. Antonio has been calling Courtney his wife and talking about children with Courtney, so she's expecting this to be serious, at least. Courtney gets off the plane and is scanning the crowd for Antonio. The airport is really small, so she doesn't think she's missed him. She finally gets connected to Wi-Fi and gets texts from Antonio saying that he has to work and he can't meet her. So he tells her to meet him at the Cathedral Gardens. Courtney is a bit frustrated that she has to figure out how to get to the city center. She's tired and her phone is about to die, and this is the last thing she wants to do. Courtney is wondering how much of a priority she is if he knew she was coming and he couldn't take off work. She manages to get to the gardens outside the cathedral, but he's nowhere to be seen. Courtney is feeling stood up and feeling stupid for making this trip. Courtney says she will wait a half hour before she just gives up. We get a 24-hour before segment where we meet Antonio, a 31-year-old model. He is busy working a lot, at least that's what he says. He thinks of Courtney as a beautiful American girl he met online. Antonio says he likes smart, beautiful women with blue eyes. He is with his friend Samuel, who asks him about Courtney, and we find out that they've only messaged each other on Facebook. Samuel thinks that Courtney is brave and stupid. Antonio thinks the conversations with Courtney are better than other women he's talked to. He's tried to talk to her about sex, but she stops him, so he thinks she may be a, quote, traditional girl, which is unlike him. Samuel asks if he knows what she's looking for, and he believes she's looking to get married. Samuel thinks that Antonio is a player, and he tries to tell Antonio that Courtney is probably in love with him, which Antonio can't seem to fathom. Antonio hopes that everything is true and it just works out. Courtney is waiting in the park, struggling to drink out of a fountain and stay cool. Antonio hopes he likes her because spending 3 weeks with someone he doesn't like would be terrible. Antonio finally makes an appearance. They kiss and Antonio says he can't believe she's real. Courtney gets shy and starts to avoid some of his kisses. Antonio thinks she is more beautiful than her pictures. Courtney tells him she was disappointed he didn't come to the airport and kind of gives him a hard time about it. Courtney tells us she's usually shy and awkward when she first meets someone. Courtney then goes on about how he made her wait and, she's a bit cold towards him. Antonio tries to change the subject to her eyes. He then tells her that he has to work, so they're going to head to a beauty pageant where Antonio is a judge. Courtney just wants to shower and change, and she is in no mood to go somewhere where beauty is being judged. All right. So the whole work came up. If it's avoidable, who knows if it is or isn't. What do you think, as Antonio, the best course of action would be in this situation?
I mean, okay, so we're assuming, giving him the benefit of the doubt that work came up, he couldn't get out of it. He had to
sure.
think. Then you should be work came up, here's my address, there'll be a key under the mat or something like that.
Yes.
It's got to, not just I'll meet you, go to the courtyard and wait outside for me. I'll be there at some point.
Right.
It's got to be a little more of that. I'll set you up with an Uber, whatever it is, I'll call you the taxi, it'll be out there. So you got to do more than just be well, I'll meet you somewhere else later. Don't worry
Yeah,
about it.
above and beyond. And I kind of feel like if he is concerned about letting some random person that he's never met like into his house, you know, maybe setting up something like a drive or something to a nearby hotel or something where she can at least shower, because that's what she's the most uncomfortable about at this point.
Yes. Right. And it's something we've seen time and time again that people still don't understand. When people get off an international flight,
Right.
They need to take a shower. That is priority number one. It always is priority number one. Get people a shower.
Yeah. This kind of reminds me of Tom and Darcey, and I would say it's probably one of the few things that Tom did maybe kind of sort of right. Remember, he bought Darcey that driver that ended up having to wait for her in the hour while she was in the bathroom trying to freshen up. But I can't remember exactly what their situation was, but I think he couldn't be there either. And so he hired someone so that way she would be met with someone, you know, and wasn't just like hanging out at the airport by herself trying to figure out everything. Courtney actually surprisingly packed pretty light.
Yes. I mean, she didn't even have a wheelie thing. She just had something on her back and something on her front.
Yeah, 2 backpacks, one bigger backpack, one smaller backpack.
Exactly. That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
Backpacks on her back, one on her back and one on her front. We don't know how long do we know how long she's going to be there? Because that's another thing. That's hugely different.
3 weeks, they said. They said 3 weeks.
Well,
Because he said, it'd be really terrible to have to spend 3 weeks with someone that I didn't like.
Yes, you're right. 3 weeks. So, I mean, she seems experienced with the like backpacking thing.
Yes.
Like she's already like, I'll go to a hostel if he doesn't pick me up, I'll figure it out. Right. So she's definitely not. She's not like a lot of these other people who's like, I've never been out of the country before. I don't even know how this works. And she also didn't feel like she needed to bring him Ricola and candy and stuff.
Yeah, right. She's like, you can figure that out yourself.
I don't think that guy eats very much candy, just off the top of my head. Like,
Yeah, sure. Why not?
I don't know. It seems she's weirdly shy about him.
So it's funny that you should say that, because I very much related to Courtney, because I think that's how I am with guys. You know, especially when it's something like that. It's like if I'm talking to someone online, you know, and you know, it's like your feelings for the person isn't quite lined up with your comfortability with them physically, right? Like in person.
Sure.
So I'm like that too. Like if someone's coming at me like, I feel like, you know, I know you, where I can like kiss you. And she was like into it at first. She gave him a couple kisses, but he kept on, he's very affectionate. And she just kind of was like, you could tell she was like ducking away from it and like nervous giggles. I feel like I'm like
Okay, though, to be fair, that's fair, because I usually don't come when it's me and it's that same situation. I don't come immediately with the physical like touch. I like definitely like, oh hey, how's it going? Oh, great to see you. You look great. So, like that kind of thing. I don't go immediately in for I'm going to keep touching you. I'm going to touch you. I'm going to touch you. But she was also already kind of uncomfortable with that, because, you know, he mentioned when he was talking to Samuel that like anytime he tries to like turn the conversation somewhere like remotely sexual, she like shuts it down.
So I feel like this is another thing that I relate to Courtney about. So one of the things is that you're so used to guys doing crap like that. And I say crap like that because I kind of get the feeling that it is more so that they're just trying to feel it out, right? They're trying to feel out, how down is this girl? You know, if I keep talking about sex and she's just like, hey, you know, she's down. She's good, right? She's good to go. And, you know, it's fine if that's what you're looking for. But if you're trying to start like a meaningful relationship with this person, it's not like you're, you know, anti-sex and that you're like, oh, no, we got to wait until marriage. Nothing like that. But at the same time, you don't want to start it off with this impression that you're just a hookup. So you're going to shut down those conversations because you don't want to give them the impression that that's all this is. So I can kind of see from Courtney's perspective, if, you know, she's been doing this dating thing. I mean, you see a lot of it, right? And maybe she's like played it the other way and kind of saw how that turned out. So she's just trying to play it like, okay, it's not that I'm not down to have sex with you. Like, obviously I flew like pretty far. It'd be kind of crazy if like I just was like, oh, I just want to see you face to face. We will sit 6 feet apart from one another and just look into each other's eyes. Like, I think, she's expecting something physical to happen, but she doesn't want this to be like, oh, like a bang trip. Like, oh, hey, let's just bang on the first night and that's it.
Yeah, I'm not trying to say she's wrong. I'm just trying to say, I wonder if it's a mismatch, right, based on where he's coming from and what he's looking for with everything. And because I don't know that he does, and especially if that's always his gauge for how into him people are, right? Because I know that's totally a guy, I wouldn't say problem, but a kind of a misinterpretation from a guy's end a lot of the time. It's like, well, if she wants to have sex with me, then we're good. She's into me. We're fantastic. Everything's great. If other than that, if somebody doesn't want to have sex with me, then there's some sort of problem and something's wrong, right? And then she's not that into me, and that's like the only dumb. It's not the best gauge. It's a very rough gauge, but that's like what a lot of guys use as their gauge.
Well, that's just dumb. There's so many levels to sex. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that's really dumb.
I'm telling you that's people's, and I think you hear that a lot from couples therapy. It's like, well, I thought everything was fine until we stopped having sex, and then it was like, that's when I was like, holy shit, something's wrong.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I feel like there's so many levels to it. There's so many things that, maybe men just need to realize that women don't see it as black and white as that. And there's definitely more complexities to it.
Sure.
Because, I mean, as a woman, you could really like a guy, right? And, just, say no, you don't want to sleep with them. And it's not because you don't want to, but it's because, you're just trying to take it slow. You want to do things the right way, right? You want to establish like that kind of emotional relationship, and you want it to match up with your physical relationship. And I can definitely see women doing that. And they could be really, really into a guy, but, just pumping the brakes a little bit. And so, like I said, there's more complexities than, your gauge of liking me is, will you have sex with me at this moment or not?
Well, I mean, not immediately at this moment, like at all times, but like in general. But because it also goes the other way. It's like there's also, the other things. Just because somebody wanted to have sex with you doesn't mean they're like interested in a big, long, intimate relationship thing. It's like, looking for some fun. And we had some fun. Yeah. All right. So we got one more, and that is Sean and Abby. All right. So Sean and Abby wake up in bed after their first night together, which he says was magical. Abby says that they didn't really talk much about sex before he got to Haiti, and she does appreciate that he never asked for nudes or anything. But that also meant that last night involved a bunch of talking and coaching on her part. God. Anyway, back in bed, Abby seems to be deep in thought, and she asks for reassurance that he'll always be hers. He makes a hint about applying for the K-1 with the implication that, they would have to be engaged for that. In an interview, he brings up his concern with Chris again, a situation that she is also concerned about. But anyway, they put all that in the back burner because today is Haitian Flag Day, which is like 4th of July in Haiti, according to Sean. I also have feelings about the Haitian flag, so remind me to talk about those later. Anyway, no matter how fun Flag Day was, though, Sean says it's important to get to know her family, which could be awkward because of the age difference, as he's actually even older than her mom. So they go, and he introduces himself, but gets very lost when everyone responds to him in French. He's nervous about making a good first impression. And Abby's dad, Renell, has his reservations about this relationship, and Mom Lisette is worried about that Sean isn't here for anything serious, but she wants to see something definitive. Through Abby as an interpreter, he tells them that he hopes to marry her, and that they are both clear that this is their hope too. Abby hopes that this puts them at ease, knowing that, Sean is not here for games. So then, because we're in Haiti, I guess, they submit us to some voodoo stuff. Abby says that her mother really believes in it and thinks that this, she has this rash that means she could be cursed. So now they're visiting Mambo Gladys, the voodoo healer. Mambo Gladys, who speaks pretty good English, actually, immediately ascertains that Abby did not get this rash in Haiti. And Abby confirms that she did get it while she was visiting Chris in the DR, which sets off red flags for Sean because this visit would, be about a month ago. And Chris also has this rash thing. So Gladys's advice for her is, well, at least the way Sean took it, was not to fuck around with Sean. Then she starts the traditional treatment to get rid of the itching, but we don't get to see that part. Sean hopes that she heard Gladys's advice the same way he did. After the healing, they go to the restaurant and talk about the upcoming meeting with Chris. Now that he's found out that she got the rash from him, he's even more concerned that he'll find something untoward and end up going home single. Abby awkwardly brings up that she's nervous about the meeting and tries to reassure him by saying, if it's meant to be between her and Chris, then she would still be with Chris. Sean is jealous, and Abby didn't seem to really understand how jealous he actually is. She doesn't want to have to make a choice between her friendship with Chris and her relationship with Sean. For his part, Sean doesn't really know how he feels about this situation, and he won't until he actually meets with Chris. So, do you think that Abby kind of interpreted Mambo Gladys's advice the same way that Sean interpreted Mambo Gladys's advice?
No, I don't think so at all. I feel like Mambo Gladys, she was kind of like, oh, you should be with an older man. It's like, well, who's older than Chris? Not Sean.
Not Sean.
Because Chris is even older than Sean. So
Yes.
I think that Abby definitely took that as I should be with Chris.
Right. I mean, I don't know. She definitely was not like, oh, I assumed she was talking about me. And I don't know. I think what the real thing was, the real bit of advice was, you need to pick somebody. Like you can't be on two things. Like, because everything that she kind of said was, kind of hidden underneath meanings. And I think at the end of the day, that was her advice: was you can't be with two guys. You got to pick one. Like,
I thought she was actually a really good therapist type.
Oh yeah, totally.
How she was analyzing this whole situation. I was like, damn, you're good.
Yeah. She immediately was like, you didn't get this in Haiti. Yeah.
Right. She knew immediately, right? She's like, this is not from here. As for the actual healing part, I don't know. We'd have to see if she's still itchy later.
Yeah. I mean, I got a little, it was a little frustrating to me because it seemed to me, at least, that Abby does not believe in voodoo, and she was not in this. But
you think
felt
so?
like production
Okay.
now. I feel like she was kind of half-assing to say, oh, a real Haitian would go to a voodoo healer instead of a doctor. Like, I feel like they were like, we're in Haiti, we got to do a voodoo scene. Like, you got to give us something. Let's go for the thing. Like, and so I think she was like, my mom really believes in it. She was like, So I don't know if she was really into it. But I mean,
maybe she was freaked out after that. It's like the people who go to fortune tellers and they don't really super believe them, but they just do it for entertainment because it's fun. And then
something
they
like
say
that was
something. They're like,
freaky.
how would you know that?
That was too close to home. I didn't like it. Yeah.
Right. Now they're a believer. So I feel like she might have said something that Abby was like, oh, God, how did you know? It's the older man.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, because he's literally sitting right next to you.
I don't know. I feel like, going back to the beginning, I feel like I would be concerned if it was like, in bed. What's the point of having an older man in bed if you still have to like tell him all the stuff you want to do? Like, he's supposed to be more experienced. Like, come on, man.
It was pretty obvious that Abby was not satisfied by their night together.
I would say yes. I feel like Sean was not doing many of the things that she wanted to do.
Right. It seemed like there was a lot of coaching, but yeah. And I love how he says, oh, it's magical. And even how he said magical, it's like creepy.
Yes, I definitely he already, like, as soon as he said something, I was like, it wasn't that good. Like,
for her at least.
Right. Yeah, well, for her at least. That's what I meant for her. I'm sure he had a fine time. But
gosh.
Oh my God. And we have here again the parents who were like, this wasn't really like asking for her hand, but we had a similar situation where it was like, oh yes, I'm happy that this American person swooped in and is going to just
provide
marry
for
my
her.
daughter. Yeah, like, so I don't know. What do you think? Were the parents as on board as they said they were?
Yeah, I think so. The other thing is, even if she gets rid of Sean, it sounds like Chris might still be supporting her too, which is one of the reasons why she wants to keep him around.
Yeah.
But at the same time, jealousy this is not unique to Sean. I think you're going to have a hard time finding anyone who is okay with this unless they want to expect the same on their end, right? They want to have a relationship with someone else, like a tight friendship, if that's what you're calling it.
It's definitely, yeah. I mean, it is jealousy, but it's not at the same. You're right, because you're going to find a hard time finding anybody who's like, hey, my ex that I go on, months at a time. I go trips with him, like, and we probably sleep in the same rooms. And he's also providing for me. He's also giving me money. But he's just a friend now.
Right. Oh, we used to date. Yeah. That happened. Like, I'll admit to that much.
And then also, it doesn't help when you're like, oh, so has anything happened, like, since you broke up? She's like, it all gets very, very like,
weird
squirrely
about
and quiet, weird about it. And it's like, yeah. So that already kind of like when you ask her any questions about it, she already starts to feel like super guilty and super weird. So it just is going to jump anybody to being like, there's something going on there.
Yeah, there definitely is something to be upset about. Yeah. And I don't know why she doesn't see that it's going to be very difficult to find someone who's going to accept her relationship with Chris.
Yes, especially because they didn't break up that long ago.
No,
right?
Yeah.
If you were like, oh, this is a friend, I've been friends for 20 years.
Right.
Oh, and like we had a fling, like, when we first met, but since then, but he's just a friend now. That you can deal with that. Dealing with, oh no, he's a really good friend of mine, and we stopped dating 3 months ago. You're like, it's a lot more suspect.
Yeah. Plus, she never actually denies that she has feelings for Chris.
Yes, that's true. Right.
So I think that is problematic.
Yes, problematic. I don't know, but I don't like the way, I don't know. I guess the way it's edited, the way it's cut, where he's like, well, I'm going to go back here. If I'm not satisfied, you need to come here and satisfy me with their answers. Like, that part is a little like, I feel like we could put that in a different way. Then they have to jump through these hoops and up to your satisfaction, or you will leave her high and dry and go back a single man.
Oh, gosh, at least I don't think he's saying this is his last chance at love.
I don't think he said that. No. We have, a few of the other ones did. Oh, he's been burned so many times before. If it's this time, they'll never do it again. And I was like, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I don't think it works like that.
Okay, so what about your student of the week?
Patrick, I guess. I found a lot of drawbacks to a lot of the other people, so it's a little bit of a by default. But, I mean, he did have his weird reservations, and I'm not sure production didn't get out of it. Do you think she might be married and stuff? But at least at the end of the day, like when he got on the plane, he actually was like visibly and physically excited.
Yeah.
Right? And so I give him credit for that. At least it wasn't like the whole thing like, oh, I don't know, like these huge reservations.
Yeah. My student of the week was Karine. She was embarrassed by Paul. Like, this is not attractive behavior, but she's still giving him a chance, and she's still agreeing to the pregnancy test.
That's the part is like, I'm not sure that's a good thing, like to agree to the pregnancy test, right? Because like, I definitely don't like people's excuse of, well, you have nothing to hide. And it's like, that's not the point. That's not the point of what you did wrong or what I did wrong, is because I have nothing to hide. Like, I know how this test is going to turn out. That doesn't matter. That's not the issue here.
Right. But she still gave him hell for it. I mean, they fought the night before, so she is protesting, but still going along with it because they need to get somewhere. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like she should at least be like, fine, you get one too. Let's go.
Well, maybe an STD test. It's very Ed and Rose.
Yes.
Because that's what Rose said. Rose was like, if you want me to take one, you take one too.
Yeah, that seems like a reasonable thing. Give them hell for it anyway. But then at the end of the day, like your agreement to that should be like, and you too.
Yeah, sure. Okay, what about your dunce?
My dunce was Larry. Just because it was the first time we saw him, and just, whoo boy, like just bad, wrong turn after wrong turn. He really seemed dumb.
Yeah, that's kind of true. Okay, so my dunce was Abby. I feel like she's going to be my dunce a lot. Trying to lie about when she saw Chris, especially when she has this rash situation where the truth is going to come out.
Yeah.
That's like the person who's like lying about, oh, when's the last time you slept with your ex? I don't know. Oh, I'm pregnant. How do you explain that?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly, and that's another thing. It doesn't look like you think that you and Chris are completely innocent and there's nothing there when you lie about when you saw him.
Right. Yes.
Like, it seems like you're actually trying to hide something there. So maybe it's not so just friendship thing. Exactly.
Yeah. Not so innocent. Okay. What about your life lesson?
All right. So my life lesson was, I was thinking of Paul, but I feel like a lot of people kind of have something like this. Your new relationship should be held to kind of like a neutral, reasonable relationship standard and not the standard of whatever the most fucked up thing somebody did to you was.
Yeah.
Right? So like, I feel like if you are at that and you're like, well, I had a girl lie and say she was pregnant with my baby and she's pregnant with somebody else's baby, which is a horrible thing to happen, right? That's terrible. Like, but you shouldn't hold your next girlfriend for that. And if you feel like you need to hold your next girlfriend to that standard, to that level of trust, then you kind of need to revisit whether you're ready to be in a relationship at all.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. All right. So mine was actually geared towards Larry. Your 401k is not a random savings account. It's for emergency life or death situations and really for your retirement.
And because you have to pay, I think not only do you pay taxes, you pay a penalty to take it out. Like they really encourage you, like, this money is not supposed to be for this. You still want to do it?
No.
Like, yeah, I'll burn more money for this. Yeah, it's like, totally.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That kills me. And he's not the only one, too. We've seen Sean from Sean and Destiny and Love After Lockup also do the same bonehead thing.
Oh, man.
Like,
and he was older. He was older.
Yes. It's like, what are you guys
closer to retirement.
doing?
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. Whatever. This is why I have, you know what I can't take out? Can't cash out my pension.
Yeah, I know. It's one of those things where it's like, I get it that, some people are in a situation where they have to draw from it. I get that. But for something like this is basically a vacation. That is a ridiculous life choice.
They had like medical bills and stuff like that. You
unexpected events happen.
Things.
Sure.
Yes. But to be like, yeah, right. It's a vacation. It's a vacation.
Yeah.
That he could have put off for a couple months and saved up for it.
Right. Oh, gosh, it kills me. Okay, so moving right along. Next week we will cover episodes 7 and 8.
That's it.
Yeah, we're on 7 and 8.
I know. We go a lot faster with seasons when we watch 2 at a time.
Yes, we do. All right, so we'll be back next week then.
Yep, we will. All right, see everybody then.
Okay, see ya.
Okay,
Bye.
Bye.